どうもどうもおはようございます。こんにちは。こんばんは。KaLRZ です。KaLRZ と申します。I am KaLRZ. Welcome. どうぞ。どうも。KaLRZ です。Hello, I'm KaLRZ. I forget how to do my opening time after time. はははははは。はいはいはい。じゃあ今日はネクバリスタの続きやろうと思います。I'll be continuing Necrobarista today. This will be the third part to it. I genuinely do not know how many episodes there are. We can find that out right now. We'll be able to find out how many episodes. If I just look at the episode select, 6 episodes, I believe? I don't know. No, wait, these are bookmarks. Here. Okay, Act 1, 4 episodes. Act 2, 9 episodes. Alrighty. Oh, and there's a prologue. So a total of 10 episodes. Walking to the Sky, Devil's Den. Is that a thingy or something? How do you bookmark? How do you bookmark a thing? I didn't know you could bookmark. Wait, what are our display control options? I guess there aren't bookmark options here, I guess. Adjust camera sensitivity for exploration mode. Yeah, may as well. Yeah, no, I don't know what the whole bookmarking thing is about. Memories. View unlocked memories in art gallery. The designs. Meg approved finals 2016. Meg. But oh, this is the fisherman? Like the kind of people that would have been involved in the fisherman. Crucible product. This is Maddie. There's a lot. Keep the balance. Oh, opening storyboard. I see. Oh, that's pretty cool. Alright, let's continue. Necrobarista to the final point. Let's continue it. Tsuzuki desu. Tsuzuki desu. As usual, it takes its time loading. Hi. Yawny. This shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us. Alright, so last we left off, we had looked and explored at the stories on the second floor. The memories on the second floor. And we checked out the doodle mode, where you could draw the faces onto the ashlings. The little robots that Ashley has put together. So now, now maybe the camera sensitivity is very high now, but that's okay. That's fine. Nothing. Oh, actually, maybe it's too sensitive. ちょっと待って. Controls. Bring it back down to half. I don't know how you save your progress. Probably it's not quite in the middle of anything, but whatever. Alright, here we go. Sure, rightio. We haven't made like any huge decisions. Like we haven't had to make any big decisions, so that's probably why we don't need to do bookmarks. Hi. Tsuzuki wa? Kishan. He's sleeping. I wonder how many hours left. Does he overstay or like here we go, day 2. Does he overstay or does he leave before the 24 hours? That's what I'm wondering. The terminal, 12 p.m. He's looking. Rise and shine. Don't wanna. You shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Man, I was hoping that I was having a really long, weird dream. Sorry. No such luck. I'm still having trouble getting my head around it. I totally understand. Want a coffee? Ooh, this is a long, narrow, deep stair thing. Konnichiwa, Gesho-san, irashai. Ohayou gozaimasu. Koncha. Koncha. Gozaimasu ja mo janai yo ne, asa. Yeah, just something simple. Hipster coffee, coming right up. He makes the coffee. What's going on downstairs? I didn't even know you had it downstairs. There's more to this place than meets the eye. Maddie's down there, desperately trying to fix our debt situation. It sounds like she's hosting a cage match or something. Well, not exactly. But she's mentioned wanting to do that. There's some wrestler called the Red Comet that she wouldn't stop talking about for a while. Huh. And then, because of that, Ashley got obsessed with wrestling for a bit and kept trying to suplex me. Did she manage to? She's tiny. A couple of times. Ha! It was very humiliating. I can imagine. But to properly answer your question, Maddie's running a gambling ring. Downstairs? All by herself? It's a fairly unconventional one. And by unconventional, you mean mortals generally aren't involved. The stakes are higher than usual. No? Coffee's ready. Come over and get it. Maddie runs a gambling ring. They gamble for time, among other things. You don't sound like you're a huge fan of the idea. I'm not. It's undignified. I mean, as long as Maddie's not in danger, shouldn't it be fine? The council doesn't like it. They turn a blind eye because we don't cause trouble otherwise. But I'd rather not have to worry about things coming our way. Because Maddie refuses to approach the problem from a different angle. And by the problem, you mean the debt, yeah? I was pretty drunk, but I think I remember Maddie storming off after Ned turned up. Yes, I'm a bit worried about her. Wish I could help. You all seem pretty nice. The thought's appreciated. Maddie will figure it out eventually, though. I'm sure. She just needs time. Hey, thanks for the coffee, by the way. I just realized you haven't actually made me pay for a bunch of them. How did you expect to pay for them? Oh, right. Yep, no cash. If I were feeling particularly capricious, I'd ask you to pay in time. But you're a nice kid, and you need every minute you've got. Oh, something dropped. You want to head downstairs? I can see your eyes darting to the stairs. I'm not going down, but I'm not going to stop you. Yeah, if that's okay, go on then. I'll stick around up here. Catch you in a bit. Moro. Omoro moro. そして眠い。Nemi. Running a gambling ring and you're betting for time, so I guess a lot more people lose their time. I don't know where they hang out. The stairs that led down to the basement were solid and well worn, with smooth ruts on each step and a handrail that had been polished to a silky sheen through the years of use. Kishan had always liked stairwells. People never lingered in them for long, and he found them to be a good place to catch a breather. He wasn't obsessed with them. That'd be weird. But he definitely appreciated a nice set of stairs. On further reflection, it was probably a little weird. What? Downstairs, Maddie's audience clamored for blood. From you to me, with the understanding that your remaining moments on this plane are limited, you surrender this time freely, without coercion, as agreed. Contract fulfilled. You're free to go. That's 3 in a row, you bloodthirsty bastards. Is he dead? Is this person dead? The crowd cheered. Maddie was clearly an expert at winding them up into a frenzy. Who's next? The room fell dead silent. They're all dead. Come on, isn't anyone here brave enough to challenge me? I thought you came here to play with knives, you pansies. Seriously, anyone? Don't hold out on me. Cough. Do I need to pick someone out from the crowd then? Is that what we've come to? Maddie's gaze swept the audience. Kishan. Good to see you upright. Interested in a game of skill? Me? Yes, you. Sure? Give me some enthusiasm, my man. Sure. What's the game? 5-finger fillet. Some of the people in here just call it the knife game. You heard of it? Oh, he pointed. Oh, finally, something I'm good at. Episode 3. Rise and shine. Whoa. Alright, 5-finger fillet. You've got a lot of knives in this place. Tell me about it. Oh. Damn, this thing has a good weight to it. Of course, I wouldn't make you compete with an inferior tool. Huh. What? Sorry, I was waiting for you to segue into calling me an inferior tool. Shit, that was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it? Next time, mate. Sure. Kishan did another experimental slash, and this time it made an audible whoosh that the spectators oohed and awed. But this wasn't for them. He knew that he only had one shot to get accustomed to the blade. You done showing off? Nothing wrong with putting on a little show. Sounds like you're stalling for time. Getting cold feet, perhaps. Not a chance. Let's get started then. You know what you're wagering? Shay mentioned something about you gambling with time. It's not gambling if it's a game of skill. But that's beside the point. That's beside the point. We're both wagering 4 hours. If you win, it comes from the cafe's balance. If I win, it comes from yours. You've got around 16 hours left, in case you weren't keeping track. Shit, only that many? Want a little extra time to play with, then? Hell yes. Let's stop wasting it and get this over with. You sure you know what you're getting into? Most people are pretty shy about playing with the time they have left, especially when their tank's running as empty as yours. Yep, come on. Unless you're getting cold feet. Hardly. You've got 30 seconds. Smack the timer when you're ready. What the... Whoa. Oh. The crowd cheered and Kishan fed off their enthusiasm. In response, Maddie leaned back and tapped her finger on the table, feigning importance? I missed it. He met her eyes, grinned, and continued his performance. His stabbing motion got faster as he went. The point narrowly missing each of his fingers. Stabs, strong enough to drive the knife a millimeter or two into the table, were good if you wanted to put on a show. And of course, giving the spectators a show was part of the fun. You might be going fast enough to put on the show, but you're not going fast enough to win. Ara! How'd I do? 16 sets, if I counted correctly. Oh. I couldn't do 16. That's how many Maddie beat me with. Is she gonna lose? Nah, she's gonna kick his ass. Feeling good about that result? Certainly am. Righty then. Watch closely. Oh, I will. 16. Whoa, let's go. 1, 3, 7, 11, 15. Ara. 17? Told ya, she's unbeatable. Isn't it magic? She could cheat if she wanted to. Definitely not. She's just that good. Poor guy. He didn't know what he was getting into. Sorry, mate. You beat me fair and square. I'm pretty impressed. I aim to please. I'll be taking those hours now, if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. How does this work? Well, that's a bit of a grin. Just like this. You won't feel a thing. Kishan felt a brief tightness in his chest, and just for a moment, the tip of Maddie's finger burned white hot. Ow! Shit! Sorry, I lied. It's done now, though. Alright, does anyone else dare to compete with me? Come on, looking for some actual decent opposition here. I'll take any challenge, even if it's chess or something. Any challenge? I challenge you. Oh. To get everyone a drink. Rounds on me. Ah. I didn't realize you were watching. There wasn't anything happening upstairs, and I got bored. Right. So, you took some hours from Kishan, huh? Yes, I did. Do you feel good about that? Shay, do you? I won them fair and square. He didn't know what he was getting into. There's an obvious power imbalance here that you're exploiting. He knew the rules. That doesn't change anything. You led him to believe that he'd get some extra time. And, barring a miracle on his part, that absolutely wasn't going to happen. It doesn't matter. He's just passing through. A couple hours won't make any difference. Kabedonda. Maddie, I'm disappointed in you. Our patrons respect us. We need to earn that respect by treating them with respect ourselves. This is not respectful or dignified. Cheating vulnerable passes through out of their time. We're above that. We're better than that. I don't care whether you think it's dishonest or not. I want you to give that poor man his time back. Don't pout. This is serious. I feel like a broken record saying this, but while I understand your intentions are good, you can't keep doing these things. It's all for you. If you really want to do this for me, find another way. This isn't worth it, Maddie. It breaks my heart to see you like this. And I know that you're trying your hardest. But this really, truly is not worth sacrificing your own self-respect over. Everyone here respects you. But your gambling with ours just cheapens that. I'll give the hours back. Shame. I was pretty great with a knife. Still not as good as me. I was pretty close. But, なんかちょっと切ないね。この二人。どんな関係かわかんない。They seem to be like student and mentor, but obviously it's probably more complex than that. Lovelace. Lovelace. Yes? What form did you have before being reborn?
I think I was a crab.
Come on, I'm being serious. Ashley wouldn't harvest spirit liquid from a crab.
You're assuming an awful lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above the streets next to the sky. So, a bird then? Wings and feathers and such? No, not that.
I really don't know what kind of voice I gave. I do remember flying, though. Oh, were you a sugar glider?
Describe?
Did you eat insects and tree sap and flower nectar? That is familiar.
Wonder how Ashley found you then.
Could have been anything, really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Ugh. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car.
That seems likely. Is that bad?
I mean, you're here now, so...
Whether you like it or not.
Shut up. I gave them faces and they're speaking like this.
I am still adjusting.
I don't even know what these three things are. Like, harvested spirit juice or something? Like, spirit liquid? Spirit juice is an interesting way to say it. Spirit liquid? Harvested spirit liquid? Oh, look at you turning into a responsible human being. Oh. Studio mode is now available. You can speak to Kishan to access the studio mode. Oh, what do you do in studio mode? Beth 1. Alright, what's this? Let's go, little girl. The man standing in front of Beth smirked. The knife he held seemed almost slight compared to his massive hands, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. Finish this one quick. Finish this one quick, came a call from behind the knife holder. 3 men stood behind him, wearing expressions which ranged from amused to bored. Beth felt her palm getting sweaty and loosened her grip on the knife in her. On the knife in her? Oh, probably in her hand. Hang on. I'm gonna move myself. ちょっと待って。場所こってこうか。ちょっと待って。こっちに。そして僕。待って待って待って。こっちか。And fade. Cool. In her right hand, sliding her thumb along the guard to reassure herself that its shape hadn't changed since the moment she'd picked it up. Take your friend's advice, Beth said to the man who was menacing her. Finish this quick. After all, I am just a little girl. Well, as little as any 15-year-old girl could be. Can do, said the man, as he drew the knife up for an overhead swing. The man's movements suggested that he didn't know how to use a knife. Not really. He was swinging the knife like he'd swing a fist, like he was trying to bludgeon her with it, like he'd never really used a knife before. He was stupid. Mercifully stupid. She tried to reassure herself of that fact, trying not to lose her resolve. He lunged toward her as he brought the knife down, and Beth raised her left arm. She felt the edge of the knife hit her skin, but the impact of the blow caused the man to lose his grip on the knife. Whoa. An opening. Beth grabbed the attacker's knife. Beth grabbed the attacker's knife arm and pulled him toward her, thrusting her own knife toward him at chest level. She drove the knife into the man's chest with all the force she could muster, and he fell to the ground and gasped as Beth released her grip on him. The man lay on the ground and put a hand to his chest, moaning, "Son of a bitch." "You doing okay down there?" said Beth. The man sat up and patted his chest. "I didn't expect to lose to a girl." "No," said the man. "Well, that too, but I didn't expect it to hurt this much." "These rubber practice knives are no joke," said Beth. "Oh, okay. If I'd stabbed any harder, I might have broken a rib." The man stood up. "You got a name, girl?" "You can call me Beth," she said, extending her hand. He shook it with a look of hesitation. "I'm Kyle. I've got to say, Beth, that was kind of a cheap trick." "How do you mean?" said Beth. "I mean, the way you blocked my knife with your arm. It just bounced right off. You couldn't do that if we were using real knives." "He's right," said one of the spectators. "Not really a fair fight with rubber knives." "I'd like a rematch," said Kyle. "Yeah," said one of the spectators. "Rematch." The others began chanting along with him. "Rematch, rematch, rematch, rematch." A voice thundered from above. "I thought I told you guys to keep it down." Everyone spun around to face the stairs leading up to the ground floor. Maddie was leaning over the railing of the staircase with a stern look on her face. She tapped the poster on the wall. Beth took a moment to glance at the sign. Fight Club rules. 1. Don't quote Tyler Durden. Who's Tyler Durden? Probably like the guy who's like, don't talk about the Fight Club or something like that. Seriously, no Tyler Durden rule quotes. Tyler Durden quotes. Always assume your opponent is mortal. Practice weapons only. Be considerate to other guests. Keep noise to a reasonable level. "We don't have many rules here," said Maddie. "Please don't make me kick you out of the basement." Everyone else in the room cast their gaze downward, looking ashamed, with several mumbled apologies. Maddie nodded and climbed back up the stairs, content that she had made her point. "Seriously, though," said Kyle. "Not really a fair fight without real knives." Beth walked over to the edge of the room and lifted a rug, revealing two steak knives. Several whispers erupted from the small crowd. "Where'd you get these?" asked Kyle. "I swiped them from upstairs," said Beth. "They're not exactly combat gear, but these blades are fit to cut through flesh, whether it's a cooked steak or a human arm." Beth held one of the steak knives by the blade, representing its handle to Kyle. "We've already broken one rule tonight. How about breaking another one?" "I won't get hurt," said Kyle. "I mean, I can still feel the pain, but I'm not afraid of getting stabbed." "Neither am I," said Beth. But don't say you're ready for this if you're not ready to bleed." She turned the knife over in her hands, pressing her thumb against the tip, just enough to draw a single drop of blood. I wouldn't. Kyle grinned. "Do I look like I would be here if I was afraid to die?" "Sore dake? Tsuzuki wa nai?" "No Tsuzuki." Okay, Beth won. That tells me there's gonna be like a Beth 2 somewhere. Oh. Kura. Kore Ashley's journal too. Rotten poppy. Let's do this one first. Rotten poppy, and then Ashley's journal. Oh, now I gotta move myself again. Jesus. ちょっと待って。もうめんどい。めんどいめんどい。めんどいことめんどいこと。星いいかな。こう。パッパッパラーパッパッパッパラパッパッパラーパン。Maddie opened a herb jar and sighed as she examined the contents. Rotten. She began pouring them down the sink. I hate poppy seeds, she muttered to herself. I won't tolerate that kind of hate speech here, said Shay. Too bad the rules aren't yours to make, old man, said Maddie. You should have thought of that before you handed me the keys. I could help you get the keys back, said Ashley. I've got a magnetic grabber that the keys are a metaphor, said Maddie. They're not some kind of magical talisman that grants ownership over an establishment. But there is a magical talisman that grants ownership of the establishment? Asked Ashley. Yeah, said Maddie. It's called a deed. And this deed entitles me to certain privileges, such as expressing my hatred for poppy seeds. Hate is not good for the soul, said Shay. Hatred corrupts the soul. Hey, I'm new here, said Kishan. ちょっと待って。配信の方が大丈夫かな? Probably okay. Is the stream alright? なんか止まってない? 大丈夫? 大丈夫そう。はいはい、じゃあ続き。Hey, I'm new here, said Kishan. But, are you talking literally? Does hatred actually corrupt the soul? No, hatred does not corrupt the soul, said Maddie. Nor will poppy seeds, despite being a distant cousin of the bay leaf. Cousin. It's a good thing, said Shay, because Maddie's soul is full of hate. Trust me, I've seen the ultrasound. Once again, as the new guy, I gotta ask, are you talking literally? No, hatred does not show up on an ultrasound, said Maddie. And I assume the thing about bay leaves corrupting the soul is also a metaphor? Oh, no, said Maddie. That part was entirely literal. Bay leaves absorb bitterness. You always remove the bay leaf from something before eating it. Bitterness, as in figurative bitterness? I was talking literally in the sense that bay leaves absorb figurative bitterness. But yes, they also absorb literal bitterness. I am so confused right now, said Shay. Just don't absorb a bay leaf into your soul and you'll be fine, said Maddie. It's not a kind of thing that happens accidentally. Are you sure? Said Kishan. Because I think I may have accidentally ingested a bay leaf one time. My friend's grandma made this big pot of chili. The soul is not connected to your digestive tract, said Maddie. It's not your gut. So unless you're inhaling your food, it's not going to be a problem. Again, said Kishan. New guy here. Soul. Respiratory system. That's a thing? Oh yeah, said Maddie. Why do you think people are so into burning herbs and inhaling them? I always assumed that was just how, I don't know exactly how cannabis works. But it's like, psychoactive? What? Said Maddie. No, not that herb. Like people who burn incense. Huh, said Kishan. That's something new. That's why you always have to watch out for when herbs go bad, said Maddie. Someone might accidentally inhale some of them. Yet another reason to hate poppy seeds and their short shelf life. Kishan's eyes narrowed. How long does it take for poppy seeds to go bad? These went bad in a matter of months, said Maddie. A matter of months? Said Kishan. How many months are we talking here? Maybe 30, said Maddie. Kishan did some counting on his fingers. 30 months is 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. Shay piped up. You left the jar of poppy seeds for 2.5 years? Maddie nodded. As I said, a number of months. 30 is a number. 30 is an injustice, said Shay. How have you not touched poppy seeds in all this time? People don't actually like poppy seeds, said Maddie. People just like muffins the muffins they come in. If you give them the muffin without the poppy seeds, they'll like it even more. Poppy seeds just make everything worse. People love poppy seeds, said Shay. Me, for instance. I have a great love for the humble poppy. Really, said Maddie. Then how is it that you've never touched this jar of poppy seeds in the past 30 or so months it's been sitting on the spice shelf? Shay shrugged. I like lots of things. Evidently, during the past 30 months, I've found things I've enjoyed more than the humble poppy seed. I'm offended by the idea that you would discriminate against such a lowly and unpretentious food item. You like the idea of poppy seeds, said Maddie. You like the idea of an herb, but it's a herb. You like the idea of a herb that comes in discrete units called seeds, so that you don't have to wonder about how much a sprig is. It's something that you can picture, as opposed to cumin that you wouldn't recognize even if I said it on your tongue, or rosemary, which you would probably forget was a spice, and which you wouldn't tell from time. When you see me disposing of poppy seeds, it pains you, because it's something you can conceptualize. If I told you that I hate cumin and had to flush a bunch of it down the sink, would you be bothered by that? Probably not, said Shay. So really, it is not I who am discriminating against the poppy seed. It is you who is discriminating against non-poppy seed spices. There is no reason for us to have poppy seeds anywhere in this cafe. People claim they want them, but you can go years without ever serving up a single poppy seed, and no one will notice its absence. A woman wearing a loose green sweater walked up to the counter. Were you just talking about poppy seeds? Yes, said Maddie. We're all out. Oh, that's too bad, said the woman. I was hoping you might have a don't say muffin, thought Maddie to herself. Don't say anything about poppy seed muffins. A poppy seed muffin, said the woman. My grandmother was really fond of them. Shay grinned as Maddie tried to avoid cringing. The woman in the green sweater said, they used to be part of the standard muffin trifecta. Chocolate, blueberry, and poppy seed. I always wondered why cafes stopped serving poppy seed muffins. I wonder, said Maddie aloud. It's been so long since I've tasted one, said the woman. Years, I'm guessing, said Maddie. Yeah, it's been years, said the woman. Well, I guess it's been years. It's been a while. Been a good solid while since the poppy seed was eaten. Alright, Ashley's journal. I gotta move myself again. また行動しないとね。ちょっと待って。じゃあ。これ。と、これ。and fade. はい、続き。Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Alpha Charlie Echo. All of the commentators call this robot Ace, probably because it's so good. It seems biased for them to call one particular robot Ace, but it's obvious how it got this name when it wins all of the time. At first it looks like this bot doesn't have a weapon, and it's just designed to be really fast and agile. Then you realize its entire body is a weapon for ramming into unsuspecting people. This would be a great tactic if you got into a fight when you didn't have a weapon. You don't need a flamethrower or a buzzsaw if you just have a 150 kilogram body that can ram into people really fast. This probably wouldn't work very well for me because I don't weigh 150 kilograms and I'm pretty small. But that isn't a problem, since I usually carry things that can be used as weapons. Like I could carry a crowbar, and then if someone tried to attack me, I could take the L end and jam the crowbar under their feet and then pull it up and use it to knock them over. Use it to knock them off balance, even though I'm probably smaller than most people. I'm not sure why it's named the Alpha Ace Alpha Charlie Echo. I assumed it was a remake of something in the style of a robot called Alpha Charlie. But there aren't any other bots named that, and the team that made it are all rookies. Also, none of them are named Charlie. Maybe it's named after someone's dad or brother. Their next robot will probably be called Beta Charlie Echo, or maybe Alpha V2 Charlie Echo, or Final 2 Charlie Echo. Okay, that was a short one. That was a short one, but that was a funny one. Okie dokie. Tsugiwa? I guess there's no more. I saw that one. Billiards. Billiards. Did I... Oh, okay, yeah, billiards. Why was I thinking of, darts? また移動しないといけない。もう。結構です。You know, kid, you've got style. Brad perked up. It was the first unsolicited remark he had heard from the old man Thomas all night. He'd been expecting a compliment after beating Thomas, but to hear that kind of comment after a loss made him perk right up. Thanks, said Brad. It wasn't a compliment, said Thomas. And just like that, Brad's mood came crashing down. Thomas continued. All the best players back in the day, none of them had style. Style doesn't win tournaments. Sure, said Brad. Consistency is what wins tournaments. Consistency doesn't mean anything, said Thomas. That's a symptom of a skilled play. It's not a thing you can just decide on. No one sits down at the table thinking, gee, I better be consistent today. Nobody. So if you're not thinking about consistency, what are you thinking about? Fundamentals. Thomas talked to the end of his cue. Fundamentals are what matters most. Because if you don't get the fundamentals right, all the fancy shit isn't going to matter. Thomas leaned down to line up his cue. The straight-in shot is your specialty. Several opponents told me that exactly that, tongue-in-cheek, thinking that they were insulting me. But I take it as a compliment. If you control the cue ball, you can turn any shot into a chip shot. That's what you want to do. That's how I can still sink him, even at my old age. I know, I've been watching you, said Brad. Your cue ball control is incredible. You're a very talented player. Not talented, said Thomas. You can do it too. The question is whether you've got the discipline and the patience. Thomas followed through with his stroke and hit the apex of the triangle, head on. He sank 2 balls, 1 stripe and 1 solid. He pointed the striped one, signifying his choice. I'm plenty disciplined, said Brad. When I was in high school, I'd come out every day after school and put in at least 4 hours of practice. Sometimes I'd come in after dinner to squeeze in a few hours more. Then on weekends, I'd come and spend all day up here. Of course you did, said Thomas. All the pros have. Anyone can put in the time. At a certain point, what matters can't be the number of hours you put in, because everyone puts in the time. What matters is how you use that time. ちょっと待って。なんか気づいた。なんか聞こえてない？ああ、BGM だ。なんか BGM がうるさかった。うるさかったね。Heard the BGM playing in the background. Sorry. What matters is how you use that time. And it seems like you spent a lot of time practicing trick shots. Thomas lined up and made several practice strokes. Brad found himself getting annoyed with Thomas. Brad knew better than to try to talk to Thomas while he was lining up a shot. That was bad etiquette, and just bad sportsmanship, plain and simple. But it kept him from offering timely retorts to Thomas's statements. It was bad sportsmanship, Brad decided, to talk to an opponent in a situation where etiquette forbade him from responding. Thomas finally took the shot and sunk a solid colored ball. But a bad bounce put the cue in the pocket with it. Brad sighed with relief as he took control of the ball, and with it, control of the conversation. You're right, it takes a lot of practice. Brad lined up the shot, and aiming at one of the balls in the opposite corner. If he could get the angle just right, he took the shot, and the cue ball knocked one of the striped balls into the back left pocket before ricocheting and hitting another ball into the back right pocket. A clean double. Brad tapped the table with his cue, as if to emphasize the shot he had just made. You don't learn how to shit like this overnight. That's a nice trick, said Thomas. Now, can you do the same thing 10 times in a row without messing it up? No, said said Brad. It's a hard shot. About a 10%er for most people. But I'm good. I can get it 30, 40%. A 30% shot isn't worth taking, said Thomas. If I offered you a coin flip bet with a weighted coin, would you take it? No, of course not, said Brad. And yet you take the low percentage shot. I make it a higher percentage shot, though, said Brad. Yes, and I'm sure you look like a big hero by doing it. And when you miss, no one calls you on it, because defensive shots are boring, said Thomas. I can play defensively, said Brad. But you don't win games by playing defensively. Of course not, said Thomas. There's nothing on the scoreboard that lets you tabulate the places where you find your opponent a point. Brad was angry now, and he began lining up his next shot, just so he wouldn't have to hear the old man talk. Some players might get tilted in a situation like this, but Brad played better when he was emotional. Whatever it was that made him play better under pressure also made him play better while angry. He couldn't even think about the shots he was making. He was operating on pure instinct and conscious thought. The thought that was chased away by anger was only a distraction. Brad tried for another double. He missed the second ball, but was enough to set him up for a triple bank shot, which he followed with another shot that he put spin on. He didn't even need to curve the ball around anything. He just wanted to show Thomas that he could do it reliably. Fortunately, he didn't get punished for it. His last shot placed one of Thomas's balls between the black 8 ball and the white cue ball. Brad knew that he could sink the shot easily by hitting Thomas's solid into his stripe, but he was on fire and he wanted something flashy. He struck the cue ball's base, driving the leather tip of his stick into the table, and it bounced the ball up and over Thomas's ball, hitting his own and sending it into the pocket. Brad turned to Thomas with a look of defiance. Looks like this game is mine, old man. Yep, said Thomas. He took another sip of the beer. Is that all you have to say? Yep, said Thomas. How about, you outplayed me. Do you need me to tell her that? Said Thomas. A little acknowledgement would be nice. A moment after he finished saying it, Brad found himself cringing. He was sounding like a petulant child. He was frustrated and angry and disappointed. But knowing all of that about himself didn't make any of it less true. How come there's like random... Maybe they need to go through the text again and fix these. Thomas shrugged. I thought you played to win the game, not for validation. Give me a break, said Brad. That line coming from a pro. When you compete, play to win, sure, but there's money on the line. And the money goes to the person who gets the W. You play to win the game, you get the money. But I get the feeling you're playing for something else. What are you talking about? Said Brad. You play to impress people. That's different from playing to win. That's why you never take the defensive shot. I just won. Yep, said Thomas. But you weren't playing to win. Just because you happened to win doesn't mean you made the right decision. How the hell does that make any sense? Said Brad. Thomas took a coin out of his pocket. Here's a hypothetical. Suppose I have a coin. I ask you to call heads or tails on a $1 bet. Now, you know that the coin is weighted. It lands on heads 70% of the time. What do you bet on? Heads, of course, said Brad. Now I flip the coin. Here comes up tails. Bad luck, Brad. You just lost $1. But did you make the right decision? What? Thomas continued. If you had called tails, you would have won the bet. Clearly, calling tails is the wrong decision. But sometimes you make the wrong decision and get the short-term payoffs. That's why the fact you won doesn't necessarily mean you made the right decision. And sometimes these things only reveal themselves after you've flipped the coin hundreds of times. I played hundreds of games, said Brad. And that's as a pro. Practice games, I play 100 games in a week, easy. Maybe 200 games a week, depending. And how many times have you made the WBC? I won the WBC, said Brad. Right, said Thomas. That's the thing about calling tails. Sometimes, even if you make the wrong choice, randomness comes up in your favor and you happen to run hot. But in the long run, things don't quite pan out. Brad threw his cue down. So now you're saying that my wins were all due to luck? Not all luck, said Thomas. Like you said, it takes some skill to take a 10% shot to make a 10% shot into a 30% shot. A lot of skill, in fact. You've got good hands and a good eye for the ball. But the lust for a cool shot supersedes that. You'd rather fail spectacularly than win through boring play. Fuck you, said Brad. You know what? I actually won the WBC. Maybe I did run hot for just 1 year, but at least I have a championship to my name. You made it to the finals 6 times and lost every time. And now your career is done. You're over with. You'll never be a WBC champion. A title which I hold, by the way. You're right, said Thomas. I don't mean to knock the high variance approach. Maybe that's what you want to win. Maybe that's what you want, to win once and then burn out. Yeah, that is what I want, said Brad, annoyed to find himself agreeing with Thomas. What have you done with your life since retirement, old man? Ever done anything wild? I bet I've lived more in one night than you have in your entire life. Whoa. I'm happy with the way I spent my life, said Thomas. No regrets. His eyes softened. Can you say the same? The question could have come as a challenge, but there was something in Thomas's eyes as he looked at Brad that made it feel even worse. Thomas's expression wasn't one of antagonism. It was one of pity. Brad knew, deep in the pit of his heart, that Thomas wasn't doing it to attack him. And that made it sting even worse. Brad started to say something, but found himself choking on a lump in his throat, and as he reached up, he felt wetness on his cheek, realizing that he was crying. Yabe. Angst. Keiko angst. How do you say angst? I don't know. That's angsty, bro. So, that's what they say. Don't meet your heroes. You don't want to meet your heroes. Is that... Oh, I know. I've already seen that. Oh, the fisherman. I want to read the fisherman. Wandering spirit. Okay, fisherman. Let's go. Jack waited until Maddie left the counter before motioning to Shay. Hey, said Shay. Can I get you something? Jack nodded. Can you get that whiskey bottle and pour a glass? Shay glanced over his shoulder to verify that Maddie wasn't present. Any reason you couldn't ask her? Said Shay. Afraid of what it might do to me, said Jack. I wouldn't want her to worry. Shay arched an eyebrow. Should I be worried? Jack shook his head. You don't strike me as a warrior. It's not about... I'm not intending to get drunk. I think if I smell it, that might be enough. You're going somewhere inside of you, said Shay, tapping the side of his head. Exactly, said Jack. And you, well, I can tell from looking at you, you know what it's like to see a friend die. Shay smiled grimly. Am I that easy to read? No. No. Deep voice. No. But now I know it's true, said Jack. Don't count her out, said Shay, referring to Maddie. She's seen more than you can read on her face. Yeah, but... Jack hemmed and hawed over his next words. Seeing something is not the same as having experienced it. You know what it means to be experienced in losing friends? Shay nodded. It's a feeling that I've grown well acquainted with over the years. I remember the day I found myself preparing for a funeral, and not even thinking too hard about what I was doing, almost going on autopilot, until the moment I realized. I've done so many of these, I can mentally check out at doing this. Followed by the feeling of, nobody's ever supposed to feel like they're getting good at doing funerals, right? Followed by the feeling of, actually, we all leave this mortal coil at some point, and someone has to be the last one in their group of friends to kick the bucket. And maybe doing well at longevity just means outlasting your friends. Jack's eyes narrow. How old are you? Older than I look, said Shay. Jack laughed, but it was a forced laugh. Damn, I wish I had that problem. I have the same thing, but in reverse. Shay got the bottle of Jack Daniels out from where Maddie had stowed it and set it in front of Jack before looking for a glass. Jack picked up the bottle and studied the label. You've worked with your hands before, said Jack. Never worked a boat before, said Shay. It's not bad work, said Jack. Never boring. From the first day I spent out on the water, I knew it was my calling. I've even had enough to retire after several years, but by that point I was so wedded to the idea of having my own boat that I kept saving. Did you ever become Captain Jack? One day, said Jack. I was Captain Jack for one day. Shay held the glass in his hand, not setting it down in front of Jack. It was terrible shit luck, said Jack. The weather was clear. The water wasn't even that choppy. I guess that's why he got careless. I guess that's why he thought he could try and fix the net when it stuck. At least I assumed that's what he was trying to do when he fell overboard. Shay silently set the glass down on the counter, bottom side up. You know what the worst part is? When I realized it had happened, I didn't think. The captain, the one man whose job it is to keep a level head. I didn't think about what I was doing. I just jumped overboard after him. Didn't grab a life ring or anything. Stupid. If you ever find yourself in a position when you jump overboard, all you're doing is making the problem twice as big. There is nothing I can imagine that compares to the sense of dread and the regret that I felt in the moment as I felt myself sinking below the surface. Can you imagine that? Having that kind of thought? They say that when you're in intense physical pain, it's supposed to block out anything. You can't feel anger or sadness or regret or wistfulness when there's 1,000 needles stabbing you all over at once. Which is exactly what it feels like when you jump into the freezing Alaskan surf. That's what you don't realize about the cold until you're totally immersed in it. You don't feel cold. You feel pain. All over. And somehow, in the midst of all that pain, it's still possible to think, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. Dumbass. When I leaped over, I guess I imagined myself swimming around in the water looking for him. And I actually did try opening my eyes. Big mistake. The Pacific Ocean, I'm not sure if you knew, but it's salt water. And somehow that's even more painful than the thousands of pins and needles stinging you all around, reminding you that the water's freezing and you're not supposed to be in it. You know the crazy thing is? You know what the crazy thing is? They managed to fish me out. Terrible pun, sorry. They found me. They threw me a line. Irony is, I almost died of hypothermia there on the deck, being soaking fucking cold in the cold Arctic wind. You know, hypothermia can kill you almost as fast as drowning can. I didn't even make it to Cal's funeral. Couldn't bear to look his girl in the eye. Nobody blamed me as captain. Cal should have known better than to do what he did. Did know better. But all I could think was, what if I hadn't jumped over? What if they hadn't been busy pulling my stupid ass out of the water? Would they have found Cal? And I knew that if I was thinking that, and I knew if I was thinking that, then she had to be thinking it too. then they all had to be thinking it. I couldn't face that. All I could do was sit at home, and every time I walked to the bathroom, I passed the display full of these bottles. He tapped the bottle of whiskey on the counter. Hypothermia can kill you in 5 minutes. Drowning can kill you in 3. Drinking yourself to death? It takes longer than that. But not much longer. He looked up to Shay. I just want to smell it. Jack glanced at what little remained of the halibut shade. Jack glanced at what little remained of the halibut Shay had grilled for him. The fish didn't do it for you, huh? Said Shay. Jack shook his head. Like I said, smelled too good. Shay dutifully uncorked the whiskey and poured out a finger. Jack held the glass to his nose and inhaled deeply. Yeah, this is the smell I was looking for. There it is. That's the smell that makes me feel sick to my stomach. He stood up. I think I'm ready to go. Oh, そういうこと? Shows up, eats, leaves. Bruh. Poor dude. That was a much more different ending to what I originally thought. Okay, I guess this wandering spirit part is the last one of downstairs, and then I suppose you can go upstairs? Maybe after this I can? I didn't find stairs before. Kishan's footsteps, huh? Kishan's footsteps echoed in a way that startled him. Were his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it was just the contrast with the surrounding environment, which seemed to completely silent, that made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked along the catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? There seemed to be a gaping space below him, filled with some sort of mist that he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, and yet despite the fog that lapped at his feet, the air felt so dry. The air was thick here. As he breathed heavily, Keshan felt an overwhelming sweet, sickly odor, like the smell of wet or rotting wood. But all he could see around him were steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rusting? Was it rust he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. This smell was somehow organic, like the smell of a forest after a fresh rainfall. Kishan shivered. Far in the distance, he could see what looked like a building of some sort, so far away that it made the structure he was inside feel almost tunnel-like, as if its only purpose was to convey to him that distant building. He continued walking forward, but as he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. He quickened his pace, and as he walked faster, he could feel himself moving through the thick, stifling air. Yet as he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him unchanged, as though he was walking in place. Kishan started to turn backward, but saw only a blinding light. His eyes immediately shut, and when he opened them, he was again facing into the tunnel, with a distant building at the center of his field of view. He tried turning around, but every time he tried to turn his head, his eyes involuntarily shut at the sight of the light. He was forced to close his eyes or look away, always confronted again with the sight of the small hut when he opened his eyes. His heart pounded violently inside of his chest. The tunnel was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat, feel his own pulse inside of his head. Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back. I have to get back. He tried turning again, and this time he found himself unable to even begin rotating his body before his eyes snapped shut, placing him again in a world of darkness, until he opened them again and was confronted with the sight of a small hut in the distance, now looking more far away than ever. I have to get back. Kishan kept facing the building and took a step backward. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt a gust of wind knock him forward. He let out a yelp of terror. Instinctively, his hands reached for the opposite edge of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself for the fear of falling off. The catwalk was wide enough that his body didn't land close enough to the edge for that to have been a risk. And yet as he looked toward the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread that there was something down there that would capture him if he allowed it to, catch even the smallest hold of him. Almost as he thought it, he felt the sensation of something pressing against his legs. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The hut ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran, but he ran all the same, running not to reach the destination, but to be away from whatever it was that was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, a worry that he was somehow trapped in here. But now the worry was replaced with an overwhelming sense of dread that propelled him forward. He had been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Kishan leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. He often found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs. And yet he ran and felt no sense of tiredness holding him back. No need to catch his breath. Maybe it was the thick air that somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. Maybe it was the fear of whatever it was behind him. Was that strong. Kishan felt the air stinging in his eyes as he ran. By now, he was running so fast that the thick air felt like a hot wind on his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in him to raise a hand to wipe his eyes. That would mean slowing his sprint. So he closed his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk that had no handrail on either side, and at this point he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after the tears on his face had dried, Kishan realized that he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind, even as it seemed to buffet his face. There were no sounds of anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuer at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and looked down. He looked over his shoulder. This time there was no blinding light, only a distant glow, like the light at the end of a long tunnel. In a way, it was the light at the end of a long tunnel, and in observing the dim glow of the distant light, Kishan suddenly realized just how far he had run. He turned around and saw the building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered with the same fog that covered the ground around him. Kishan reached for the door handle. He half expected it to be locked and felt a moment of panic as the handle bowed under the pressure of his hand. Was he ready to face whatever was on the other side of that door? Did he even want to enter? Did he have a choice? What was it that awaited him inside of this building? Answers, or more baffling questions. Kishan looked down the tunnel and suddenly felt cold. Whatever this place was, he needed to escape it, and the only form of egress that seemed available to him was the door of this building. He leaned on the handle and felt the door swing open. Is that when he first arrived at the cafe? It does say wandering spirit, so that's what I'm assuming. Alright, so I've read everything in here. I've read that. I've read Billet's. I've read Ashley's thing. How do you get out of here now? Oh! I thought cellar, staff only. Terminal. Back to the cafe. I wonder what those are. Oh! やっと帰った。やっと帰った。お、キシャンだ。ちょい待ち。1時間12分。まあ。Enter studio mode. I can enter studio mode, bro. Okay, let's finish up with studio mode. And then we'll continue in part 4. I think just doing these in approximately hour-half blocks works. Yeah, what's studio mode? Hit me up. Nemi. Nemi, nemi. Wow, 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 wow. Necrobarista.exe is not responding. Was that because I was making sounds? So I'm waiting. Alright, okay, studio mode. What's this? So Choi much? そういうこと?そういうことか. Add you shot. Rotation. What? Okay, no. No. Ta. Ko. Oh, that's ちょっと待って。これ意外とむずい。意外とむずい。OK。こうか。OK。Sure.そういうこと? If only it could last. そういうじゃない。そういうパニングしたくない。What I want. I don't know what this one's doing, but maybe it's this one. Pan position.また。 ちょい待ち。ちょっと、じゃあな。こうか。Maybe it might be this one. そうじゃないな。I wanted the 難しいこれもう難しい難しいOkay, I'm good. Stretch. That was a difficult stretch. はい、ここまでにします。Look at you turning into a responsible human. Fight Club. Yep, okay. Now, get me out of here. Yeah! So... obviously, I've opened first floor, second floor, and basement floor. Nothing outside is changing. Seems okay. And I will continue the next episode. I'll continue the next episode next time. And hopefully I can get this series done before I head on for a holiday. I'm going on holiday, guys. Well, it is holiday, but I'm like gonna travel a bit. So, 最後まで見ていただいた方、最後まで見ていただいたありがとうございます。まだお知りない方は Twitch と Twitter のフォロー、YouTube の登録、高評価よろしくお願いします。If you haven't already, please follow me on Twitch and Twitter, like and subscribe to me on YouTube. And thanks for watching till the end. So I will be continuing this at another point in time. And I bought a horror game. 昨日買ったなんだっけ Night Security. It's a Japanese horror game, and you play. It's what's the name? Yama Cave-in? Yoruma Cave-in? Night Security. So that's been bought, and I'll be playing that at some point soon. It's gonna scare the heck out of me. I hate horror. I really, really, really do. But apparently, summer is all about horror, so I'll play it. I'm not going to play it at nighttime because I do not want to get kicked out of my apartment. Yep. So yeah, I'll do that at some point. I'm probably gonna freak the heck out. I really should try not to hype myself up too much, but it'll be fun, I think. Okay, so I'm busy tomorrow. I probably could do Thursday. No, what day is it today? It's Tuesday. Okay. I could do Thursday afternoon and maybe a bit of Friday. But yeah. I will continue this at some point this week. So thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. お疲らずとまた今度ねまた今度ねはいお疲れず See you, bye bye